race fans, and welcome to a special Thursday night edition here tonight of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. It is our usual time and place, but certainly today holding a very special meaning in all of our hearts as we sit down tonight at a Thursday round table and want to start off by dedicating tonight's show to the memories of all those who were lost during the 9/11 tragedy some 13 years ago today. Certainly a time that sticks very, very brightly in everyone's minds, and unfortunately not for the best of reasons, but we do want to remember all of those victims here tonight and call tribute all day today on RaceChaserOnline.com to the events of that day and how things have changed since then, and want to welcome my regular studio analyst here at the round table, Tom Baker. Tom, first off, good evening to you, and certainly I know today brings up a lot of memories in your mind. Of course, you actually have some very, very vivid memories of this day 13 years ago. Talk a little bit about your circumstances and some of the things you've noticed, how, really we've come a long way since that time in 2001.
Yeah, we certainly have, and thank you, Jacob, and good evening, everybody. And it is, we talk racing on this show, and I always like to say that racing is not life, it's just a part of life. And sometimes things take place that are bigger than sport. And September 11, 2001 is certainly one of those times. It was a time in our nation when we became more vulnerable than perhaps ever before. I actually do have some vivid memories of that day. It was a strange day, actually. At that time, I was doing a combination of things in terms of work, and I was working part-time for a friend of mine at a couple of radio stations in western New York, actually in a small town in western New York State called Newark, New York. Now, if you just think about the significance of the name Newark, most people, when they hear Newark, think of New Jersey, which is right across from New York City. So it's, as you can imagine, that could kind of open up some things on that particular day. And of course, I was still at home when the planes hit the towers, and when the bulk of it happened, I immediately called into the station to see if I needed to go in early or what the situation was. And we were actually already on CNN, on both stations, running live CNN coverage, CNN radio. And it was interesting because I went in at my normal time, which was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's humorous when you think back upon it now, but it certainly wasn't at the time. I answered the phone at one point, and a caller on the other end of the line, and keep in mind I'm sitting in Newark, New York, caller on the other end of the line said, "You're reporting some bad information on your show, on your radio station." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "You're reporting some bad information." I said, and I had to think to myself, wait a minute, we're on automation. We're not live out of the studio. We're running CNN's feed. And I tried to explain that to him, and I said, what is the information that's bad that's being reported? He said, "Well, you're reporting that the New Jersey Turnpike is closed on the northbound side." Now, I'm thinking to myself, how does this particular caller get from New Jersey Turnpike to a couple of little hometown stations in western New York? And so I said to him, I said, "Well, let me ask you something. How did you happen to hear this?" And he said, "Well, I'm on the Turnpike going north. It's not closed, and I was listening to your station." Well, it turns out that the number, not the area code, but the number for our two particular stations, our station and the one he was listening to out of Newark, New Jersey, were very close and he had somehow looked up the information and dialed the wrong number. So that was the first kind of mix-up of two that happened that day. The second call I took was maybe an hour later, and it was a radio station from Australia looking for a media partner, if you will, to help them and kind of be the main go-to for their coverage of the. And again, he'd made the same mistake, thinking we were in Newark, New Jersey, and I had to explain the geography, and so it was a really weird set of circumstances that afternoon, but just a terrible time for our country. And I had a friend of mine whose son was racing go-karts at the time that I was working with a bit, a friend of mine who was originally supposed to be working in the Pentagon, doing some electrical work in the Pentagon, and found out later he was not there that day. But there was some pretty tense moments wondering about his situation for a while. So, yeah, I just remember thinking to myself, how does this happen? How can something like this happen? And, of course, in the years since, we've made so many gains in terms of security and such, and, we tend to politicize this whole issue a lot, and I wish we would stop, because at the end of the day, regardless of whether we're Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, whatever you want to call us, we're all Americans. And we need to unite on this front. We still have a threat that is as real as it was back in that period of time now with ISIS, with this new group. And I just wish that we would come together and just keep in mind the memory of the day. That's really what I'm looking at right now, is just I don't want to forget what happened in 2001. I don't want to diminish it. I want us to always remember how easy it is to let our guard down, and for us always to be sure that we don't do that. And I also want us to remember those who were lost and to do everything we can to learn from those experiences to make the country safer.
And certainly that's something that we have tried to do ever since. And I actually put up a blog post earlier today on Race Chaser Online talking about where NASCAR was that day and in the days to follow. And if anybody wants to go on our website at racechaseronline.com and read that, it was certainly a very powerful piece. But as I talked about in the blog, racing moved on, and thus 13 years later, here we are moving on as well, and certainly pushing forward as a motorsports community and as a country. And to do that, Tom, we're here to talk racing, so let's talk some racing.
Let's do that, and we've got Kyle Magda with us as well, and we're looking forward to a great show, really. We've got one live guest tonight that we're very, very excited about, happy to have on, and we've also got some conversation from our New England motorsports insider, Kyle Souza. Wasn't able to join us live tonight, so we've got some remarks from him that will be coming up a little bit later in the show as well, and just a lot going on. We've got late models, modifieds, all kinds of good stuff to cover here for you over the next 50 minutes or so.
That we do. So let's get started. And you mentioned him. I actually want to bring him in, Kyle Magda, and talk a little bit of K&N East action to kick off tonight's show, Kyle, because it's a battle that we've been watching all season, and over the weekend at Greenville-Pickens Speedway, the numbers finally added up for Ben Rhodes, who did exactly what he needed to do. All he needed to do was finish 13th or better. Well, he bettered that by about 10 spots, finished 4th, and mathematically now has clinched his first ever K&N Pro Series East championship, second straight for Turner Scott Motorsports, in a race that Rhodes was trying to sweep the season. Ultimately, that goes to Austin Hill, and you think about this, it was really just a NASCAR Next party Saturday night in South Carolina.
Yeah, first off, guys, thanks for having me tonight. And absolutely, I mean, Ben Rhodes pretty much, he started on the pole and just, I think he jumped at the start of the race, and that really had to fight his way back all night. And I think he got up as far as second, but he just couldn't get up to Austin Hill. So, but, definitely, it's been a great season for Ben Rhodes, especially winning, of course, getting that first win at Greenville Pickens earlier this season back in March, and then, of course, going that torrid pace of 4 in a row, and then, and then even being talked about with the record of 5 consecutive at Loudon, which I was at, and just fell a little short there. So just a great season for Ben Rhodes. I see a lot of potential out of him coming in these next year. So he's going to run the ARCA race at Kentucky next week, his home track, because he's old enough to run because ARCA you can run at 17 years old on super speedways like Kentucky and Pocono. So there's a lot. I think that young man has a bright future ahead of him. And even with like his teammates, the whole Turner Scott team with Cameron Haley, Kaz Graulis, Scott Heckert, Brandon Jones, I think everybody except for Graulis and Haley have visited Victory Lane this year. So that those drivers have promising futures ahead of them. Now, I know we've been talking about Turner Scott Motorsports and the other series. I don't know what's going to happen with them in the future, but I really wish the best for them.
I think we all do that, certainly, because they've got a lot of bright talent. I'll be honest, I think so much has been made of Turner Scott this season that it's really overshadowed a lot of the other good that's been going on in the East Series. So before we go to commercial real quick, I do want to talk about Austin Hill for just a second, because he did win the race, and it's been a while since Dover at the finale last year. He gets his second career K&N East victory, and I'll tell you, he's won at 2 very, very difficult racetracks now, because we talk about Greenville Pickens. It's not easy on the tires, and what makes it so difficult to drive is just because it's so flat.
Yeah, it really is flat. It's an interesting track because of that. It's not a track that is easily adaptable. You really have to work there. In a way, as difficult and as challenging as it is on drivers, it's a lot like Darlington in a smaller sense. Greenville Pickens is one of the most difficult tracks that the K&N East cars will run all season. So to be able to win there even once, let alone twice, is a pretty amazing accomplishment. And yeah, there's no doubt that the K&N East Series, again, you're right. We've talked about Turner Scott a bunch, Jacob, but the K&N East Series as a whole, just so many competitive cars and drivers, and a lot of times it's really, really difficult to try and bring out all of the stories and even all the things that are going on, because Ben Rhodes has just really dominated this season. And, it's one of those situations where you get a guy like Austin Hill, you get a Jesse Little, you get these drivers that win these races, and you almost want to over-discuss it and over-promote it because, Ben's had such a phenomenal year in the whole Turner Scott team, but, there's other drivers in the series that are every bit as capable, and it's always interesting when someone sneaks up there and shows it.
Yeah, and Austin did show that. We are hoping to have both he and Ben Rhodes on next Thursday's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tried to get them for tonight, but the two of them are in Chicagoland with the stars of the Cup Series with some NASCAR Next appearances today as part of the chase across America. So wish them all the best this weekend in the Windy City. Hope to have them on next week. But right this second, we're going to take care of some business and go to our first caution flag of the night. But much more still ahead on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stay with us.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Not nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
half empty,
Half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to this Thursday night Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed77 Radio, powered by RaceChaserOnline.com. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and special guest co-host Kyle Magda around tonight's round table. And race fans, if you're listening in tonight and want to get involved in the motorsports conversation, you can call in and chat with us at 347-989-0783 and talk motorsports, especially pavement, late models, and modifieds here with us tonight. Once again, that call-in line is 347-989-0783. And as we move through our show here tonight, we talked K&N East before the break. Now I want to go to the West Coast for a minute, Tom, and talk a little bit of K&N West action. The East Series off this weekend, but the West Series is racing at one of my favorite tracks on their schedule, Miller Motorsports Park. Beautiful road course out there in Utah. Road course that's been dominated by Greg Pursley the last 5 or so years, with him winning 3 events at the racetrack. But going into this weekend, it may be Pursley with the record, but I would have to say that I think Dylan Lupton may be the one with all the momentum after Pursley basically screwed up and handed Lupton the victory last time out at Kern County.
Yeah, again, we talk about momentum on this show a lot, and we see it bear fruit a lot. And Dylan Lupton right now, he feels good about his chances. He feels very good about his chances at Miller Motorsports Park. He likes the idea of going for the road course. He comes from that kind of a background. He's just come off a race win. He's really focused on getting it done this weekend, and I think he goes in as the favorite. It's hard to bet against Pursley because he's so strong and has done it for so long, but I think Dylan Lupton goes in as the favorite, and I think he still feels like he's after something. He's chasing that championship. He wants to get it done. He's got things, that he's trying to do for next year, and he really needs this championship to help him on the marketing side for 2015. It certainly would be a great benefit to him. And I think Dylan's got an excellent shot to win this weekend on a course that's a really, really cool road course that probably doesn't get nearly the national respect that it deserves, but it's a neat place. And I think that's going to be a fun K&M West race this weekend.
I think it's going to be it seems like every time the series goes there, it produces exciting finishes. One driver who's never raced there, but has said that he's been impressed with the competitiveness of the entire field going to Miller is Brandon McReynolds, who I think could be a dark horse on the road course this weekend. We don't talk about him coming from a road course background, but he's certainly learned a lot out west this year. Kyle Magda, I want to bring you back in on one part of this, because what we saw decide the race last time out at Kern County was a restart violation. Greg Pursley jumping the restart. And we've really not seen a lot of crackdowns on this particular violation in 2014 at the local track level or the regional level near as much as we have in the 3 national series. But now that the issue has arisen again, it begs the interesting question, are we going to see more of this the last couple of races, and are the officials going to be more on the lookout, you think, to make sure that somebody doesn't try to pull something that could ultimately affect the championship?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't want to restart deciding a championship. I mean, we go on to Homestead with the Sprint Cup Series. I mean, that's going to be all stakes on the line. But, and I've seen this happen before. NASCAR has tweaked this rule a little bit. They had to beat the leader to the line before when the restart got going. So they have been working at this, and like you guys have been saying with Greg Pursley and Dylan Upton. I mean, this may go down all the way to Phoenix. So I think and they both ran really well at Sonoma last time. So, and like with the restarts, I think, you could see this championship come down to a restart. And, NASCAR doesn't want to mess anything up. They want this to be a clean finish for the championship, and then with the better driver coming out on top.
And I know that's certainly what we're going to be keeping an eye on, whichever driver looks like they're going to end up on top. And talking about ending up on top of a championship battle, perfect segue into the next series that I want to talk about, Tom, because you talk about championship battles, and I don't think it gets a whole lot better than what we're about to see, not this coming Friday and Saturday, but next Friday and Saturday on the Gulf Coast at Five Flags Speedway and Mobile International Speedway. Last year in the Southern Super Series presented by Sunoco, it came down to 2 drivers, Bubba Pollard and Daniel Hemrick. Coincidentally, Bubba Pollard and Daniel Hemrick are 1-2 in the championship standings again going into the season's final weekend. However, the catch to this year's championship battle, there are 5 drivers within 100 points, actually 88 points total, separating the top 5 in the championship with a final doubleheader at Five Flags and Mobile next weekend, and just 8 points separating Pollard and Hemrick. We thought season 1 was an impressive finale. I think the sequel is about staged to be better than the original.
Well, at least as good. I mean, again, you see 2 drivers, Bubba Pollard, a veteran of the late models, who's been around forever, it seems like, and is still as good today as he ever was, and Daniel Hemrick, a driver who I think almost anyone who really knows him well and has spent any amount of time tracking him and following him in his career deserves to be in one of NASCAR's big 3 series right now. These guys get it done because they're 2 of the best at what they do, and Daniel, once again, just showing that wherever he goes and whatever he drives, he's always up front and he's always going to be a contender. And, oh, by the way, he loves heart attack finishes. I mean, it doesn't get any better than last year, where he pulled it out just by the skin of his teeth and needed a little bit of outside circumstance in order for him to do it. But, the summer shootout and, just all of these examples that you can look at from Daniel's career where he hadn't iced anything until, the last minute. He never quits. But you've got 5 guys, like you said, that are all contending, and, I mean, it's going to be a war. I think this is going to be what we thought Richmond might turn out to be, but didn't. This is a short track, and these guys are going to get it on when they drop the green, and, it's hard to bet against Daniel Hemrick because he proves time and time again that you shouldn't, but he is certainly no lock for this. He's got to go in and he's got to beat Bubba and he's got to earn this, but man, I mean, it's just going to be That's going to be a fun race for sure. What a great track to finish at, too.
Yeah, I like Mobile. It's a fun race track to see some racing at. And, you know, we talk about Pollard and Hemrick, and we've talked about them all season long, but there is one more driver who I think has a really good chance at this, and it's the driver, actually, who comes into this final doubleheader third in the point standings, but he had to win last time out, and arguably the biggest race of his career, the Alabama 200, Anderson Bowen winning the 50th running of that race at Montgomery Motor Speedway to stay in the championship hunt. It's going to be tough. He's 53 points out, but kind of like we saw last year, something happens to Bubba Pollard, and he's in this.
Yeah, well, again, that's exactly right. I mean, that's why they run the races. You know, if you have a mathematical chance, you can win. You know, I've seen over the last handful of years, I've seen a number of point titles at the short track level, whether it be Legends cars or late models or modifieds, where the circumstance going into the final race or two, somebody was 40 or 50 points back. But again, circumstances fall just right, and all of a sudden they're the champion. Or they just narrowly miss when you thought there was really no way. And Anderson Bowen is certainly a driver who's capable of winning in Mobile, and Anderson he's really come on over the course of this season and established himself as one of the next-gen racers. He is a racer who we are going to be hearing about over the next 2 to 3 years as he slowly progresses or quickly progresses. You know, he's done some bigger track stuff, but he's really making the late model thing work. And yeah, here's the interesting thing about Anderson's situation, Jacob. It's checkers or wreckers. He's got nothing to lose. He's sitting third place, 53 points back. There is no points racing. He's going for a win.
He is. It's basically what it comes down to is he's got to win at least one of the two races and hope Bubba Pollard has some sort of outside problem like he did in last year's finale at Nashville to have a fighting chance at this. And it happened at Montgomery, so we'll have to see if it can happen again. And with that, we are going to head to another caution flag right here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, but stay tuned because coming up next, we have past South Super Late Model driver and defending Over the Mountain 150 at Hickory Motor Speedway winner Tyler Church on to talk with us about the significance of his home racetrack, talk about winning this race potentially for a second time and his 2014 Past South season. That comes up right after this business, so stay tuned. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-Supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Race Chaser Online and Speed77 Radio has gone live. All 3 of the Race Chaser Online Speed77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modified, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live. hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/Turn5Live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com/RaceChaserOnline, and for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.RaceChaserOnline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Thursday night Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda around tonight's roundtable, and moving into the second half of the fastest hour in motorsports, and bringing in a live voice to help talk some of that motorsports with us, staying in the realm of the super late models, but going over to the past sanction and getting ready to talk now with defending over the mountain 150 winner from Hickory Motor Speedway, who calls the track his home track and has had much success in the past South Series in 2014, Tyler Church. Tyler, first off, we want to welcome you live to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Appreciate you taking some time to talk with us, and looking forward to next weekend's race at Hickory. I know certainly one that is very close to your heart, because not only is it your home race, you won it for the first time last year in a pass car, and I know looking to try and carry that momentum into some additional success, especially after you came so close to winning at Hickory in the Easter Bunny again this spring.
Yeah, it's Hickory's been good to me. I raced there quite a few years now, and winning last year was it was huge to be the first win and right at home. In the Easter Bunny race, I don't want to break anybody's hearts, but I think I kind of got knocked out of the way for the win, and I guess that's racing. But his time will come. So I'm glad to come back home. We went and tested a little bit yesterday, and things went okay, but just like any racer, you always want more speed out of the car.
I know that's something you've been looking at for a lot of 2014, and it seems like this arguably has been one of the best seasons you've ever had in the pass car. Is there anything that you guys have done differently this year that's contributed to how well you've run?
Well, I've had a lot of help. Not only just me and my daddy working on it together and stuff at home, and but after races, we've had some trouble, and what I call my teammates, Preston Peltier and Cole Tim, Cole's daddy and Ryan Turner, they've helped us if we've had some trouble in the pits or something. We've come down there and they've worked on the car to get us back out, and we finished all the laps. We finished. We've been consistent. We've had a little run of bad luck there for the past month and a half or so. Just had some oil leaks. Never could figure out what was going on, and every time I thought we had it figured out, and something else started leaking. Just in one race it leaked so bad it got to the rear tires, and it was just a handful to drive. And we finally got it dried up the last race, and then had a little incident on the restart. Some guys checked up in front of me, and I tried to do my best to slow down. And it's just a chain reaction. The guy behind me hit me, and it just turned me in the car in front of me. So it's been tough the last few races, but we got a good car, and got a lot of people helping, and you know, these last 4 races, one at 2 of the tracks have been to. I mean, one being Hickory, another Southern National. In Orange County, we've been awful strong there. I feel like I should have won 2 races there. Caraway, I only run 1 time in a UARA car and did decent, but that'll be an experience going there in a pass car.
I know certainly this season has been about a lot of different experiences for you and a lot more success than you've had in the past. But talking about Hickory, I know some of the race fans may not be quite as familiar, that they may have heard you're the hometown driver, but you do have a lot of history and a lot of reason to drive just that little extra bit harder every time you come home to Hickory. Talk a little bit about the significance of the track to you as a racer.
You know, it's one of the most historic racetracks in all the country. It's Hickory. You know, all the greats have won there, and you know, I'm honored that we've won. You know, well, a pass race for one, and then, you know, quite a few limited races, and not only the history of the track, but, you know, with my mom, she passed away, I think it's 13 years ago, and she was buried right up on the hill in the cemetery, and so that's, you know, that makes it special. You know, I know from heaven she can watch everything that I do, but it's almost like when I go down there to Hickory, she's right there by my side, and so it's, you know, I can also go home at night and sleep in my home bed. We ain't staying in a motel, and you know, it's just home. It's a neat little racetrack, and it's a tough little racetrack, but I've had a lot of success.
Kyle, I wanted to talk with you about your background a little bit. How did it come that you actually got from the late model to the pass car, and talk a little bit about what that transition was like, given the fact that you're still able to do that at your home track?
Well, it started, I guess, about 3 years ago or so. Harold Johnson and Preston, they've worked together for a long time. Harold owned the car for quite a while, and up at my work at Everett Chevrolet, I work in the parts department, and Harold delivers for American Tire Distributors. So, you know, meeting him through my work, and we got talking about racing, this and that, and then, you know, he told me about Preston and this, you know, the past stuff. And so I started hanging around with him a little bit and going to some of the races and helping Preston. And I think it was a Christmas party, 2012, I believe it was, Preston asked me if I wanted to, you know, run one of his cars at Hickory. And I said, well, you know, I'll do what I got to do to make it happen. And so we got his car ready and put our motor in it and went down to Hickory. And I think in the first or second practice, it was the fastest one there. Had a flat tire 20 laps into the race and didn't get to show nothing. I still think we could have had a shot to win that one the very first time in the car. But going from the late model to that super, it didn't take much to get adapted to it. You know, yeah, there's a big difference in the power to weight and ratio and stuff, but, you know, it's still a car and still got to turn left, and it's all a matter of getting it to turn and hook up. So, yeah, I've been successful at both.
You really have, and that's what's remarkable. And the thing is not only are you good at Hickory, but you've been good anywhere that you've run with the pass car, and certainly improving yourself capable. What lies ahead for you? I mean, is this something you're looking to do, you know, again next year? What is 2015 looking like right now for Tyler Church?
You know, I really haven't even thought about it. You know, you hear a lot of talk about some of these other series, like Southern Super Series. I'd like to run some of those races. You know, but Pass has been good to me. All the, you know, Tom Mayberry, he's a good leader for this series and stuff. You know, he's done a lot for us, and you know, all the officials. I've enjoyed running past. I mean, we'll probably run some more next year. Like I say, I'd like to try to do some of the bigger races, and you know, even if we was to go up north a time or two, it'd be tough, but I'd like to go up there and run a little bit. Probably not for a championship anywhere, just, you know, go to a race and try to win.
Well, that's always fun to do, to go see some different tracks and go challenge yourself at in some other areas against some other drivers. But you're right, the Pass Series is one of the best late model series, super late model series going for sure, and not easy to win in either Pass Series, north or south, so anytime you can get that done, you've earned it. And I know Hickory's your home track, but there's still an awful lot of competition there that you got to beat in order to get the win. But it seems like you're feeling fairly confident going into the upcoming race there.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm still kind of leery about what's going to happen. You know, that place changes so much, and you know, I know a lot about what the place will do from the daytime, and just as soon as the sun goes down, the place will change. So, you know, I've got that in the back of my mind. I've learned a lot over the years, and you know, I'm learning this car, what I need to adjust on it, you know, not only for the present time, but even for later on at the end of the race. Yeah, I'm excited. I think more than anything, I don't ever feel arrogant about anything I do in racing. I don't feel cocky. I'm proud of what I've been able to do, and most of it's been me and my daddy. You know, and just like Preston, if it wasn't for him and Harold and Ryan, they've helped me get to where I'm at. And you know, when I first started running this car, I leaned on him a lot, you know, for help and advice on what to do to the car, and you know, adjustment-wise, and for too long, you know, I go to Preston just to kind of get a second opinion, and it's like, well, you don't need to come to me, you know what to do to it, and they just kind of smile, and you know, we cut up and have a good time. But yeah, I'm excited. You know, get to race right here at home in front of all the family and friends, and you know, hopefully we can do what we done last year.
Well, Pass South points leader by 24, so chasing the championship as well, and that's certainly something that I'm sure you're very pleased with and very proud of, to be in this kind of a position at this point.
I am, and truthfully, I felt like we could have won more races. Just like I say, we had some bad luck with the oil leaks, and you know, when you have trouble with something and it gets you puzzled and get your mind off of, you know, focusing on making the car better, you're trying to fix a problem and you can't figure it out, and it just puts you behind. And that's kind of where we've been, and it's tough. Most of these tracks I've been to this year, I've never seen them. I mean, I've never even watched a race at some of them. Greenville Pickens, South Boston, and there's a couple I was looking forward to going to that got canceled. I think New Smyrna at the beginning of the year, and then Lonesome Pine. I think Franklin County was another one. There's 3 places I've never seen. I was looking forward to going to them, but it would have been fast. It's just if we just get over this little string of bad luck, we'll be okay. And like I say, these last 4 races, really looking forward to, because I know the success we've had at 3 of the 4 tracks.
Well, we certainly look forward to your performance in the upcoming Hickory race and the rest of the season as well. And we wish you the best of luck. We also know that you don't do this alone. So here's your opportunity to give some shout-outs and thank yous to those who deserve them and help make it happen for you.
Well, I appreciate it. Church's Carpet, it's my dad's business. You know, a lot of people say, yeah, you know, Daddy forks out all the money. No, but he helps me a lot, and he's you know, the reason I am where I'm at. And so with him and the floor covering business, I gotta say a big shout out to them. AR Bodies, they've helped me out, and I'm thankful for what they've done to help me. that's about sponsor-wise, and I'm not getting money in. I'm just racing off of what I win and what I make it work. But as far as people helping, I mentioned my dad, Preston Peltier, Ryan Turner, and Harold Johnson, my girlfriend Heather, my grandmother, and my Aunt Kathy, my Uncle Johnny. That's the little group there. We just kind of together and helped each other, and we've been real successful. So hopefully we can finish these last 4 races out and get us the championship.
Well, we certainly wish you the best, and we appreciate you taking some time to come on and talk with us here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. That's Tyler Church, and Tyler, good luck the rest of the way and be safe.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank both of y'all for having me on tonight. I've really enjoyed it, and be glad to do it again.
Well, hopefully, if you get a win, we may have you on with an interview next week's show, week after. So go get you a win at Hickory, and we'll talk to you again here down the road after that. So thanks again, Tyler, and look forward to future conversations with you. That's Tyler Church. We're going to throw the caution flag and take a break. When we come back, we've got more motorsports conversation here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. You are listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Stay with us.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas? 1 in 300 million. The odds of the daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records? 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda around tonight's round table. And we've still got a little bit of audio from Kyle Souza to come here, but a couple more topics of discussion certainly to get to, Tom, and one that I want to talk about with you guys on the air because Kyle and I remarkably didn't get to this when we were discussing the other day. But certainly one thing to keep an eye on, he and I always talk Northern Modifieds, but your favorite subject as far as open wheel talk on this show is the Southern Modifieds. And I know this is a busy weekend for Modifieds, Tom, because both tours, the North Tour and the South Tour, are in action. And boy, basically what we've seen in the Southern Tour is the story of Andy Seiss and George Brunhosel III, and we're getting ready to roll into the stretch run, and GB3 did not have a spectacular outing last time out, even though it looked like for a while it was going to get there, and boy, he's got himself a pretty big hole to dig out of now with just a few races to go.
Yeah, no doubt. But I've seen stranger things. Again, it's just like we talked about before. It only takes one bit of bad luck on someone's part, and all of a sudden you've got a whole different look here. And I think that's the situation that GB3 is hoping for. Andy Seiss certainly, those guys that are fighting for that championship are going to be looking for every edge they can get as we go down the stretch. And there's no doubt that either one of them at this point could still walk away. But GB3 certainly, after what happened at Langley, is that was unfortunate for him, for sure, because it certainly took from what could have been a tooth and nail points chase. It's still certainly an interesting points chase, but he definitely got hurt when that incident happened there on the last lap.
Yeah, he did. And let's clarify now. We're going back to South Boston for the second and final time this season, and this is the first time that the Southern Tour has gone to South Boston twice in one season. So the fall trip going to be a new challenge for these guys. And we're looking at Andy Seiss. We thought it was going to be tough for GB3 just coming off of two disappointing finishes. But now you go back to a track where Seiss led every lap except for one in the spring race and completely demolished the rest of the field, and you're talking about a tall order being made even taller.
Well, it is. Yeah, there's no question about that, although I certainly don't see Andy Seiss doing that again. That's one of those races where everything just fell right into place. For one thing, GB3 had to start in the back in that race, so that certainly didn't help matters. There weren't many caution flags, so that certainly helped Andy as well. And by the time GB3 got through the traffic and got into a position where you thought, well, maybe he would have a chance, he'd used up a lot of the race car, and there weren't very many laps left. So, it was a situation where the circumstances conspired just right for Andy Seiss in that situation. I don't see that happening again, and I think GB3 is going to be extra aggressive as needed here going down the stretch. He wants the championship, and he's gonna leave nothing on the table to get it. I mean, and you know what? This series all year long has really been about those two drivers, although, certainly Burt Myers and Jason Myers and some of the others have been very strong, but this series really it's been an unexpectedly strong year with Andy Seiss, and it's been a year for GB3 that started out with a couple of almosts, and then went his way for a while, and then here the last couple races has kind of gone a little bit the other way. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster for GB3, but yet here he is still in contention. So I think he's going to do everything he possibly can to make sure that he gets out of South Boston at least with a much closer points race than what he went in. I don't see the same scenario happening at South Boston that happened the last time with Andy leading all the laps like that.
I tend to agree with you, and certainly when the track cools off, it certainly makes for more exciting racing. I want to shift gears now real quickly and talk a little bit of ARCA Racing Series action and bring Kyle Magda back into the conversation, Kyle, because the three of us talked with both Kyle and Clayton Weatherman on our Monday night show here on Speed77 Radio, and of course, going to Salem this weekend for the first trip with the new pavement in turns 3 and 4. So you've got that challenge. You've got the challenge of not just the two Weatherman brothers, but a loaded field, 34 cars on the entry list. And I won't even begin to get into all the names that have a shot to win, but you look at a couple of guys, two teammates that I'm looking at this weekend, Austin Self and a guy that we talked about once already, Anderson Bowen from the Cunningham stable. Cunningham has been scary good at this racetrack. Tom Hessert's always run well here, and I think that 3-car stable is going to be the one to watch this weekend for the 200-lapper.
Yeah, right now it's a wide-open race, like you said, 34 cars. And also you have last year's Fall Salem runner in the field as well, Kyle Benjamin, with his own race team. So really going to be interesting to see what happens on that at the race, because it's a stacked field. I mean, these next couple of weeks will be some interesting names. Like we said earlier, next week at Kentucky as well. So and don't forget the points battle also, Grant Enfinger and Mason Mitchell. That's probably going to go on to the last lap at Kansas, because it seems like when one driver gets ahead, the other driver is right there. That's how it's been every single week. So it's been really interesting to see what's going to happen, especially even with we were talking about the Weathermans on Monday night. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, because I know Clayton said it's been probably the smoothest in turns 3 and 4. That he's raced at a racetrack with Salem repaving. So, and it's kind of, when I was thinking about this, Kyle Weatherman, of course, running this race, that when he first made his debut at Salem, and it was his very first ARCA race, he finished 4th in April 2013, and it'll be Clayton's first as well. So try to make hopefully better that, if it's possible. So, and Kyle's going to be good there. The Rural brothers have been good there as well. And, he also ran in April as well. So, last year's race was between Kyle Benjamin and Kyle Weatherman, the Kyle and Kyle show. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend, with Salem being a short track and a somewhat rough surface. Just typical short track racing. Salem has always had some great finishes. So these next 2 weeks in ARCA, I think, are going to be great. You're going to want to tune in. This weekend's race is not on TV, but, of course, you can listen live on ARCARacing.com. So, I'm pumped for this weekend. It's back to some short track racing, and hopefully, and ARCA's had some great racing this year. It hasn't mattered if it's been road courses or super speedways or short tracks or dirt tracks. ARCA's produced some great racing this year, and I expect Saturday to be the same.
Get the calendar straight here. Certainly going to look forward to 200 laps this weekend. And like Kyle said, you can listen to the call live from Charles Crawl and Tim Clegg on ARCARacing.com. And certainly going to look to be a fun one. Right now, we are going to take our final caution flag of the evening, pause 15 seconds for station identification. And when we come back, we'll hear from Kyle Souza before we start to wrap this show home. Stay with us.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. And race fans, remember, if you want to call in and talk motorsports with us, you can do so on our Race Chaser hotline at 347-989-0783. Once again, that call-in number is 347-989-0783. And want to welcome Kyle Souza back to the round table right now for another round of New England news and notes and a little bit of modified chatter and basically anything else we can fit in the next 7 to 10 minutes or so. Kyle, first off, glad to have you back on the show. Certainly has been fun the last couple of weeks, and I know there's been a lot going on between the Valenti Tour and the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and some of the local tracks up there. So what have you got for us?
Well, Jacob, glad to be back here in the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. More of a New England news and notes this week, a modified section for them. We had the Valenti Modified Racing Series at Airborne Western Track start with that this past Sunday afternoon, Plattsburgh, New York, in a race that was scheduled to go off Saturday night, but Mother Nature as she often does with the modifieds, hurting that. It was at the Sunday afternoon. They only had 17 cars show up there in Plattsburgh, New York, but they had a great battle. Tommy Barrett actually spun out on lap 80, running way back in the 8th position. It came up late. He came in the pit area. They changed the rear tire. He came storming to the pack, and he and Justin Bonsignor put on one of the best battles that I think I've heard about in a while. Not attending the event Sunday afternoon, but a couple of people have told me that was one of the best modified battles they'd seen in a while between Bonsignor and Barrett, both regulars on the Whelen Modified Tour, competing with the Whelen Series. Bonsignor now leading the championship, leading there after his victory in this NASCAR Racing number 21. Beats out Barrett late in that number 9, and a phenomenal race up there. When I mentioned Bonsignor, he leads now by 6 points over Rowan Pennick. That's going to go down right the final 3 races of the 2014 season for them. We move on from the Whelen Modified Series. Their next race coming up at the Stafford Speedway in a couple of weeks. But for them, we'll move on to a couple other New England news and notes we had up here at the round table tonight. The Seekonk Speedway is down to its final 2 weeks up here in the Northeast. They've got a great pro stock battle between Kenny Spencer and Dave Garland. 12 points will separate them headed into the final 2 weeks. That sure to spell some controversy before it's all over with 2 veterans. All the other championship spaces at Seekonk pretty well decided heading for the final 2 weeks. They'll go back in action this week. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts will be honored on Saturday night as part of the annual Scout Night at the Seekonk Speedway. On from that to Waterford, their news and notes for the week. Last week, dominating passion. Keith Rocco has been on a tear at Waterford and basically anywhere else he goes. He's climbing up the national point standings list, now inside the top 5, trying to chase down the top 3 as part of that national point series, but he's going back at it this week at Waterford, as he will be in action in that 88 SK. He's over 100 career wins in the class. He'll continue to try and do that with the rest of the Waterford division Saturday night. Also, a quick mention of the Stafford Motor Speedway. Their SK Modified races this year have been thrilling. If you haven't seen them, YouTube it, Stafford SK Modified races, and watch one of them. They are phenomenal. Rowan Pennick has won 2 of the last 3, and he's trying to chase down Ryan Preece for the SK title there. That is going to go right down to the wire. Preece actually changed his nationwide schedule a couple of weeks ago from Richmond. It was supposed to be last week. He moved that race for him to Homestead because he wants to chase that title and possibly some national points here because he's right in behind Lotto trying to chase the top 2. So watch for Pennick, Preece, and the rest of the SK gang at Stafford to do battle. Jacob, the other race we have this weekend is the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. They'll be back in action at the Riverhead Raceway. And Jacob, we just were talking about it a little bit ago. These guys are really stacked up for the championship chase. We've got Doug Colby going at it, Ryan Preece, Justin Bonsignor. This is going to go right down to the wire at Thompson for the title.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we say it's going to go right down to the wire at Thompson for the title, but weather could play a factor in this weekend. And, of course, we know how NASCAR is. They try to reschedule. The problem is there's really not a gap between now and the World Series for them to fit this race in. And I heard Ryan Preece start crying on social media a couple of times that if we get rained out this weekend at Riverhead, they need to bump it all the way back to the week after the World Series. And a finale at the quarter mile on Long Island, I would be all for that.
Preece is definitely one of those people that's hoping that happen. Ryan runs extremely well at Riverhead, not only with the Tour, but in anything he drives there, any modified, in fact. Preece is in the front throughout New England. But Preece is hoping for that. I think some of the other guys may be hoping it doesn't go to that, such as Doug Colby, who holds a short point lead right now at the top of the championship chase. They're headed to Riverhead this week. They're also going to have events at Stafford and, of course, the World Series of Speedway Racing in October. But this championship chase for the Tour, one of the better ones we've seen in the past couple of years. We've seen Doug Colby pull away. When he won the championship a couple of years ago, Ryan Preece kind of dominated last year's Whelen Modified Tour, but this year was at a nice stack up at the top of the championship. The 2 downsides to this weekend's event, Rowan Pennick, car number 93, announcing he will not be in action. And also, Jacob, the Mystic Missile streak ends. Over 400 consecutive races as part on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The gang has said that they will not be at Riverhead this weekend. So a tough break for them. Hope to see them back at Stafford in a couple weeks.
And actually, even before that at Loudon, they've said for sure they will be back for the Loudon event, the second Loudon race for the Modifieds. And we think about the Mystic Missile, and Tom and I talked about it just briefly on Monday night's show, but I want to touch on it with you as well. That's a streak that goes all the way back to 1989, 25 years on the tour, 474 races, I believe, was the streak coming into this weekend, and just I can't get used to it, thinking that the V4 Mystic Missile is not going to be at a tour race. That's the first time it's happened in both of our lifetimes, and certainly for that entire team, and especially for Donnie Leah, who's a two-time tour champion. The team said it in the announcement. They just need something to break this string of bad luck.
Yeah, Leah's had a tough year, Jacob. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago he wrecked twice at Loudon. The first time they went there, he wrecked his own car on Friday in the All-Star Shootout, and then they actually borrowed a car from Ryan Newman's team, and they wrecked that one on Saturday as part of the 100 lappers. So not quite sure if Leah's looking forward to getting back in action at Loudon after the week off, but he said not going to do that behind the wheel at number 4. You mentioned that streak. That is a tough break for not only him, but that whole team and the modified community as a whole. The longest-running active streak on the tour, and it's a shame to see it come to an end. I know those guys will be back. They'll be better than ever, and you can't count out Donnie Leah anywhere you go. He's won big money races throughout New England, and Leah's going to be back with the force before the season's out on that tour.
Yeah, I reckon he will be real quickly, providing we get the race in on Saturday night at Riverhead, of course. Who's your pick for the win?
Justin Bonsignor. Jacob, me and you just talked about him. He's up there towards the top of the championship. I'm watching Bonsignor. Bonsignor's been strong not only on the Whelen Tour. I mentioned he won this past Sunday's Valley race. Bonsignor is going to take that win at Riverhead. He's trying to propel himself to the top over Doug Colby. Still got a ways to go to get there, but his year has been stout in that number 51, the Emmy Racing Machine. The crew's been behind him, and the Long Island, New York driver is poised to try and get that title, and I think he's in pretty good shape headed to the final weeks.
You just said it right there. He's a Long Island native, so basically what it would equate to is a hometown victory for Bonsignor. And I'm trying to think here. I don't know, Kyle, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's ever accomplished that on the tour.
No, last stat I looked at, Bonsignor has not won at Riverhead so far, so that would be not only his first career win at Riverhead, but I really think this would be a propelling factor as he heads toward the championship. Some of these other tracks that he's headed to, he's really strong at. He was strong at Loudon. He's very strong at Stafford and Thompson. And if one slip-up by Doug Colby could make this a barn burner down to the end between Bonsignor, Priest, Colby, and some of the other guys up there towards the top of that championship chase, they're all going to be there, and they're either going to wrap it up at Thompson or elsewhere, or we're going to find out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we will, Kyle. Appreciate you coming back to the round table tonight. We will look forward to seeing you hopefully back for next Thursday's show. And if anything really interesting happens, see you Monday night for a couple minutes on the Madness as well.
Well, it was great to be back, Jacob. Don't forget to check out Race Chaser online. Put up a blog this past week about a Seacon Speedway Pro Stock driver. You want to read that. And also something upcoming, the championship chase I mentioned in the Valley Modified Series. I'm going to break that down between Rowan Pennick and Justin Bonsignor. See the details on that and see who's more likely to carry the trophy at season's end.
And we appreciate Kyle joining us for that. And before we close tonight's show, real quickly want to hit on something for about 2 or 3 minutes that we did not get to hit on Monday night's Madness show, and just kind of bring things full circle for the week, kicking off everything on Sunday afternoon with the Chase Grid, the opening race of the Chase for the Sprint Cup. We didn't get to vocalize on Monday night because we had just an action-packed show then, but I want to go around the round table real quick before we close tonight's show. Picks for the championship. This is not going to be an easy thing because of the new format, but I'm making you try here. So we've got 4 rounds to get through. It's win and you advance, or basically consistency your way through at least the first 2 rounds, I'm going to say. But who do you like to go all the way to Homestead and win the title? Kyle Magda, who do you like?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with this. I'm picking Jimmy Johnson for the championship. I've had him since January. I'm not going to not pick otherwise. You know, and that 48 team, I know they haven't really shown the speed But once the chase hits, they're almost unbeatable. Because and I think for my top 4, I have at Homestead, I have Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., and Brad Keselowski. I think like I said, I think the Penske and the Hendrick cars have been the top 2 teams this year. So I'm going to stick with Jimmy Johnson. I think he does number 7. And like I said, even though they haven't shown the speed, and this happened last year, they had 4 bad finishes going in the chase, and they won it all. So I say Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th.
Wow, okay. So Jimmy Johnson for Mags, that took away Jacob's pick. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you were going to pick Jimmy or not, but I don't know, guys. I was wondering if we were going to pick the champion or have to pick the whole Final 4. That would have been even tougher as far as I'm concerned. This is going to be a championship that I think is going to be almost. It's going to be won in almost unprecedented fashion because if you think about years past, we've never been in a situation where you've had 16 drivers who start with a chance and you had to win to advance, or if you don't win, you'd better be in the top 3 to 5 to 7, somewhere in there in each race because you know that the winners are going to go. It's almost a situation where unless one guy wins more than one race in the first couple of rounds, we're going to see some real action here. So picking this champion is going to be probably tougher than it ever has been. But I'm a big believer in momentum going in, and I'm also a big believer in drivers who you've seen all season be consistent and be up front and be in contention are the drivers that are going to be around at the end of this thing. And I know that the Blue Deuce of Brad Keselowski has had some races where, he wasn't in contention, but for the most part, Brad and Joey Logano have been factors for a good part of this season. Brad's the winningest driver of the year going in. He goes in as the top seed. And I think Brad Keselowski is going to hang on, and I think he's going to win this championship event. I really feel like the Blue Deuce is primed, but keep your eye on his teammate because I think Joey Logano is going to be a far bigger factor in this than probably a lot of people will give him credit for.
And see, I filled out my chase grid earlier this week, and I have Logano and Keselowski both in my Final 4, oddly enough. And contrary to popular belief, Tom, I did not pick Jimmy Johnson to win the championship. In fact, neither one of you made the pick that I'm going to make for this title. And, Tom, you mentioned the word right here, consistency, consistency, consistency. I think it's going to take that combined with a little bit of luck, combined with at least one win, probably 2 or 3 to win this title. I'm going to go with the guy who has shown all of the above. He's got 17 top 10 finishes in the first 26 races. He is a 3-time winner, but I think he is going to make it 5 championships in his first Sprint Cup. Jeff Gordon wins the title in Homestead. He's won there before. I think he can do it again. And I'm going to go out on a limb, Tom. Here's my final thought. I think the eventual champion is going to have to win at Homestead.
Wow. Well, and that could very well be. I mean, the way this sitting down and really thinking about how this is going to play out, you really do have to keep winning, and I agree it's going to take 2 or maybe even 3 wins, and that's why there are some drivers that in other circumstances you would want to factor into this title race, but I just don't see some of these guys being able to pull off multiple victories in 10 races. I think the other guy that we haven't mentioned who would be the driver to watch would be Kevin Harvick, and but he's got a new pit crew this week that he hopes will be better. He's a driver who I think is aggressive enough and could be a real factor in this. But I like your pick. Jeff Gordon certainly is going to be there, and he's as confident as he's ever been, I think, going into a title chase. He knows he's got a team that can do it. But the Penske cars are just strong, both of them, and I think I think Brad Keselowski has a chance. I think he's going to get the win again at Chicago, and if he does that, that's 2 in a row for him. It's just sometimes hard to stop a train, and when it comes to championship racing, Brad's a pretty aggressive guy. So it's going to be fun, though, guys. I think this is going to be one for the ages, I think, and all these people that are complaining about the format and about, the chase and this guy didn't make it, that guy didn't make it. Hey, man, it's all about winning races now. And, we had, 14 winners, I think, guys? 13, 14 winners? That's a lot of winners in a season,
It really is. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I know you guys are, too. We've got 16 drivers this weekend that are fighting for a championship. The chase starts in Chicagoland, and thank you, Tom, for reminding everybody that Brad Keselowski has probably one of the best shots to win at Chicagoland, because I picked him and you didn't Monday night. So we'll see how it all works out, but it's going to be fun, and we will be back on the air Monday night to break it all down after this gets done. The opening weekend in Chicagoland, we'll have so much to talk about. We'll have all of our analysts back on the air with us, and hopefully a couple of driver guests as well, trying to get a couple surprises lined up for Monday night. So stay tuned to racechaseronline.com, where we'll have all the latest announcements on our Monday night show. And while we're on Thursday night, want to say thank you to our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies for helping to make this Thursday night show possible. And for all your shop supply and scrap metal needs, check out stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. That's going to do it here tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. And once again, we leave you tonight paying tribute to the memory of all those who were lost during the 9/11 tragedy in 2001. This is the day that we remember them, but we also remember that we are stronger because of their sacrifice, and we appreciate everything that all the rescue workers and all of those people fighting for us do and continue to do on a regular basis. So until Monday night at 7 p.m. for Motorsports Madness, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall, race fans. Until we meet again, and wherever you may be this weekend, have a safe racing weekend, and we'll see you at the track. Good night, everybody.